My girlfriend and I, we bought this 300,000 euro 3-room apartment in Finland. But here's the thing. These walls, these floors, or even this sauna, we don't own these. Plus we still have to pay monthly payments in order to live here. And it turns out this kind of system is only in Finland. What is it about? Stick around and find out. So in Finland, if you buy a semi-detached house, you will buy the land plot and the fixed buildings, the real estate, and you will own everything. Makes sense, right? But if you buy a block of flats or a row house, for example, things will get quite interesting because each building complex is managed by a special type of company called Limited Housing Liability Company. In Finnish, asunto-osakeyhtiö, or in short, taloyhtiö. And its main responsibility is to take care of the buildings so the residents and the owners are happy. Most importantly, the company does not try to make profit. The idea in a nutshell is that the company owns the buildings and the share capital of the company is allocated into shares that allow controlling the corresponding apartments. And the apartments and shares are outlined in the very important document called Yhtiöjärjestys, this is the Articles of Association. This kind of establishes the rules in the company. So if you paid attention, when you buy an apartment, you are not buying an apartment, you are buying shares of a housing company that allows you to control the apartment. But what the hell is all about the rent I mentioned, the monthly payments? The company takes care of the everyday stuff, cleaning, waste management, internet access, getting running water, keeping the yards in order, and so on. Where do they get money for that? It costs money to run these things, you know? Each shareholder has to pay something called yhtiövastike, and this consists of hoitovastike and rahoitusvastike. So the first component of the equation is hoitovastike, and this means the maintenance charge. Each shareholder has to pay a monthly fee defined in the Articles of Association. This is usually X euros per square meter. And to give you an idea how much are these, in 2020 the maintenance charge fee was 4.10 euros per square meter. And let's say if we had the 70 square meter place, that would be around 287 euros a month. It's important to note that these are much lower than regular rents, and these are completely different from rents. And compared to semi-detached house, if you buy one in Finland, you would be responsible for everything yourself, getting the waste management, repairs and fixes and so on. You're paying this monthly charge to make sure that the company will keep everything in order. The second component in the equation, pääomavastike, is the capital expenditure charge. And the companies usually take a loan to finance renovations like pipe renovation, for instance. And often the hoitovastike payments are not enough to cover this. So they have to take a loan. And for example, a pipe renovation can easily cost 1,000 euro per square meter. And if you have 30 apartments in the company, you can easily tell that it's going to cost hundreds of thousands of euros or even millions. So the company will negotiate the loan and the terms, and they can use the buildings as a collateral. So that's one of the benefits of this system, because they can use the assets to make sure that they will get the loans. But guess who will pay the loan? You. The shareholders are not party in the loan agreement, but they are the ones who will actually pay it, because the loan will be distributed to the shareholders. And this is paid in monthly installments or in a lump sum with one go. And let me give you an example so you can understand this better. Here we have an apartment that is on sale, and here we can see this is yhtiövastike 309 euros and 23 cents per month, and it consists of the maintenance fee 255 euros a month plus rahoitusvastike, the capital expenditure cost 53 euros a month. And if we look here on the top, we can see this velkaosuus. So this means the amount of loan payments that are still outstanding for this apartment. For comparison, let's look another one. Here's another apartment, yhtiövastike 303 euros a month, and that's it. So there is no outstanding loans for this apartment to be paid. And as we can see, velkaosuus, the debt portion of the price, sales price, is 0 euro. So this would have only hoitovastike payment, no rahoitusvastike payments at all. And that's the same case in our apartment. There was no current outstanding loan payments for this one, so we only have to pay the rahoitusvastike in order to live here. So who the hell runs these companies and how are they managed? There are three key players. First of all, we have Hallitus, the board of directors. And Hallitus is in charge of the management, maintenance of the buildings and organizing the everyday stuff, as well as accounting plus communication to the shareholders. These are chosen annually among the shareholders, so the owners of the apartments. On average, there are 4 meetings a year, so it's not like a full-time job, but still a responsible position. Then the second key player is the isännöitsijä. This is known as the estate manager. And this person is kind of the COO of the company, the chief operating officer. So this person will take care and executing the everyday errands and stuff in the company, such as coordinating the maintenance work, getting the negotiations and contracts with the waste management, internet, and so on. But the most important, the most powerful deciding body is the yhtiökokous, the shareholder meeting. In the shareholder meeting, all important decisions are decided and voted. For example, the board or the isännöitsijä, they cannot carry out anything important unless they have the approval from the shareholder meeting. And decisions are made by majority voting, so people actually vote on the decisions. And another benefit here is that a shareholder and owner of an apartment can get their voice heard, and also they can influence on the decision by participating in the discussions and voting. I haven't been to one, but when the next shareholder meeting is gonna be arranged, I'm definitely gonna go there and see what's gonna be happening in this building in the future. What about the responsibilities and rights between the shareholders and the company? Like I mentioned earlier, the company is widely responsible for the buildings and the maintenance of them. And in addition, the company takes care of the common areas, the storage rooms, the yards, and so on. And the shareholders are often only responsible of the areas inside their apartment. And even inside the apartments, the companies are responsible for things like the air conditioning, the radiators, the heating system, toilet devices, and so on. And a quick story, when my girlfriend and we moved here, we had noticed that the previous owner had taken out the ceiling like fixtures from the ceiling, and there was only 2 electrical wires hanging from the ceiling. So we called the maintenance company, and it turned out that these things were on the responsibility of the company. So they actually sent a guy to install and fix them, and we didn't have to pay anything. The housing company paid for the fix because it was their responsibility to do that. Also, the owners have a right to modify their apartment, for example, to paint walls or make renovations. However, for bigger renovations that could cause changes to the entire building, the renovations have to be approved in advance by the board of directors. In this apartment, there was this very worn out parquet floor, and we took it off and replaced it with these vinyl planks. Before we were allowed to do that, we had to notify the board, so we just said like, hey, what we're gonna do, how long it's gonna take, what materials we're gonna use, and so on. And then a few days they said, okay, go ahead, just do it, and that's it. So what are the pros and cons of this system? For pros, there are many. First of all, there are clearly defined owners, and the list of responsibilities are clear, who takes care of what. Secondly, there's a clear process of administration, the yhtiökokous, the isännöitsijä, and the board of directors. And this is the similar way how regular limited liability companies are managed, so it's very well known. And decisions are made with majority voting, which are straightforward. And many housing companies have high quality accounting because they also use auditors to make sure that everything from bookkeeping aspect are also running as they should. And here's the interesting thing. Housing shares are considered securities, not fixed assets. So this means that selling and buying housing shares is actually quite easy and straightforward. And the owner of the shares can be a regular person like me or a company. And also renting out the places are straightforward and easy in this system. And the company can make sure that there are no reckless renovations made inside the apartments that could cause damage to the entire building, like I mentioned in my example. And the companies can easily get loan for renovations by using the buildings as a collateral for the loans. And here's an important pro from international perspective. From the start of 2020, buyers from outside of the EU or EEA have to get a permission from the Ministry of Defense to buy real estate in Finland. But because housing shares are not considered real estate, they are securities, anyone can buy with no restrictions as far as you get the financing and money. What about the cons then? Well, there are a few. First of all, there is the dependency between the shareholders. So if someone cannot make the payments, the vastike payments, someone else will have to do that. And in fact, the housing company can take control of an apartment where there are too many missed payments. So let's say that if I wouldn't pay the monthly payments at all, the company would probably send me a warning first, but then eventually they could take control of this apartment and they could rent this out so that from the rent income they could cover the missed payments. Important to understand that the owner would still retain the ownership, but the housing company would just take control of the apartment temporarily. This is very rare though, but it could happen. Another con is that if you run into a badly managed company, because in these there could be some unexpected renovations that could be expensive for you. Also, a high rahoitusvastike can increase the living costs. And ultimately, there is a chance that the housing company could go bankrupt. So this scenario would happen if multiple shareholders could not pay their payments and the housing company wouldn't get the money, and the company couldn't pay their payments, so eventually it would go bankrupt, and that would mean that the shareholders would lose their homes. This is very rare though. Between 2013 and 2018 there has been only 6 bankruptcies of the housing companies in Finland, so this is a very rare situation. When my girlfriend and we bought this place, we bought shares of this housing company, and those shares gives us the right to control this apartment. And with all that said, is it still worth to buy an apartment in Finland even with this system? Absolutely, this system is very good and there's a number of pros, and if you're ever considering buying an apartment in Finland, you should definitely do that. But it's just good to understand what you're actually buying and what are the responsibilities. And there are a number of weird things in Finnish homes. I made a video about that, make sure to watch it here.